Welcome back, everyone. In today's story, I want to take a look at one of my favorite games of all time, Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding. I've always been a pretty big fan of the Metal Gear franchise, so naturally, I was very excited when this game came out. It was clear from the beginning, though, after watching all those early teasers, if you can call them that this game was going to be nothing like the MGS games. While that is true, the story is equally convoluted. Before we get to the confusing mess that is Death Stranding's story, as always, this is a recap, which means there's going to be tons of spoilers. If you haven't played this game yet, do yourself a favor and do it now. It's better to experience a game like this the first time through on your own. At this point, you can find it pretty much anywhere too, so just play it, then come back here when you're done. If you're still here though, you've been warned. Okay, with that out of the way, let's check out Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding. Right off the bat, we're introduced to the world of Death Stranding. In a very cinematic scene, our protagonist Sam is racing across the landscape on a tricycle thing. He's trying to outrun some large rainstorm behind him, and we see all these birds start to drop from the sky as they get hit from the rain that falls from it. As he drives though, he almost runs over this woman before she just vanishes in thin air at the last minute. After crashing the bike, Sam finds this cave nearby to hide in. Inside he meets the same woman that he saw when he almost crashed his bike. She's dressed in all black. She shushes Sam when he tries to talk to her and points at something in the cave. We can't see this thing. The pair hide as mysterious invisible creatures stalk the cave. The creature leaves only handprints in the ground and walls as it moves. Eventually it leaves the cave and the rain clears up. It's at this point that the woman introduces herself. Her name is Fragile, and she runs a delivery company. She has dooms, which is how she can teleport. Sam has dooms too, but it's at a much lower level. Dooms is essentially like this superpower type thing. I don't really know if it's supposed to be like a curse or a power, but people have it. Fragile can see the creatures while Sam can only sense them. Sam then leaves the cave and heads towards Capital Knot City. The world of Death Stranding is clearly a post-apocalyptic one. People are all packed into large cities called knots. It's this weird artsy way Hideo Kojima tries to say that we're all tied together somehow and we need to make connections. They live mostly on the ground to avoid the timefall. It's that rain we saw earlier that was killing the birds. And that same rain brings these invisible, mysterious creatures. Timefall rapidly ages everything it touches and came about as a result of the event known as the Death Stranding, hence the game's name. Humanity doesn't know exactly what caused the Death Stranding, just that it occurred. Once he arrives at Capital Knot, Sam is recruited to dispose of a body of someone who was recently deceased. In this world, bodies necrotize and explode if they're not burned. That's why so many cities exploded in the past. Sam hops onto the truck with Igor, a member of Bridges. We'll get to them later. He works for corpse disposal, and they make their way towards the incinerator. They don't get far, however, as the vehicle is soon under attack by BTs. They're the same creature Sam and Fragile hid from in the cave. The driver is crushed and the truck flips over. Timefall ages the driver and Igor is forced to shoot him. See, if a BT makes contact with a person, they explode. It has to do with regular matter of a person coming into contact with antimatter of a BT. They touch and then boom. Sam and Igor see a stranger standing atop a tipped truck. The stranger is wearing a gold mask and he points to the massive BT in the distance. And I mean massive. It's a giant walking Attack on Titans type creature. Igor throws the bridge baby, or BB, and we'll get to them again also later, at Sam and tells him to run. Igor is sucked up into the giant figure, and his body makes contact, and a massive explosion happens. Sam wakes up naked on a beach, holding a baby. He looks up and sees 5 floating figures in the distance, floating over the water. He's then pulled into the water known as the Seam, which is a barrier between the living and the dead. And if things seem like they're weird right now and confusing, that's because they are. You're not mistaken. None of this makes sense. Again, Sam wakes up, but now he's in a room cuffed to his bed. It's been about 2 days since the explosion and Capital Knot has been wiped out. We're introduced to Dead Man, who tells us how Sam survived. Sam is what is known as a repatriate, which means he cannot die. He comes back. Dead Man tells Sam that the president wants to see him. The president, Bridget Strand, is Sam's adopted mother. She and Sam must have had a falling out because he doesn't really want to see her. It's actually weird that he doesn't know she's president in this scene, but for some reason he doesn't. She's dying of cancer though, and he agrees to make his way there. She pleads with Sam to head west and connect the rest of the cities in the United Cities of America, or the UCA, to the chiral network. He says that he won't, and then she dies. Sam is tasked with carrying her body to the incinerator, and he does. It's a weird, I guess, poetic scene. I don't really know. At the incinerator, Sam burns Bridget's body. He's also supposed to burn BB's too, since it malfunctioned and caused the explosion, but he can't do it. The building is suddenly attacked by BTs as they are attracted to the burning body, which releases chiralium into the air. Sam decides to plug into the BB unit. Bridge babies are fetuses pulled from still mothers, that's what they're called, or pregnant women who are no longer functionally alive, essentially. They exist halfway in the world of the living and the world of the dead. This allows users to see BTs as long as they are connected to one of these BBs. Upon plugging into BB, Sam sees a vision of a man talking. It appears that he's in the perspective of the BB itself. It's quick, but Sam will have many more of these visions as the game progresses. Using BB, Sam escapes the area and makes his way back to Capital Knot City. While there, he meets Amelie, his sister of sorts. Amelie is Bridget's daughter, and she is the new interim president. She isn't actually president, though, as she's located all the way on the west coast in Edge Knot City. She's being held hostage and can only communicate through a hologram using that chiralium network they keep talking about. She pleads with Sam to take the Cupid, a USB-looking device that can connect cities across the United States, or the United Cities as they call it. Sam reluctantly agrees, and Di Hardman, the director of the UCA, gives him the Cupid and sends him west to reconnect several facilities. Sam ventures out across the region. It's a green, ancient feeling landscape as Timefall has aged the region so many countless times. Along his journey, Sam is attacked by BTs. For the most part, he uses BB to avoid them and gets the other facilities online. It isn't long before Sam makes it to Port Knot City, which sits at the east side of a massive crater lake. To make it across the lake, Sam must use Fragile's ship. Before he can leave, though, a massive storm hits the building. He goes outside to look and is ambushed by a man with a gold mask. The man says his name is Higgs. It's that man that him and Igor saw on top of the truck earlier. And he's a terrorist that has been orchestrating void-outs in the UCA cities. Void-outs are when they kill somebody and force an explosion, basically destroying a city. Higgs summons a large BT monster and Sam is forced to fight it. The area fills with like tar or water, basically the seam, and the buildings and debris begin floating. Sam uses the debris to run around, attacking the monster with blood grenades. Earlier in the story, Mama and Hartman, these names are ridiculous, I'm aware, two researchers of the UCA determined Sam's blood is harmful to BTs since he's a patriot. The blood grenades whittle the beast down, eventually destroying it. Sam kills the first BT in human history. I know I'm covering a lot of ground here, but this game is a large game and a confusing one, so just stick with me. After defeating the BT, Sam leaves with Fragile on her ship across the lake. On the journey, Fragile tells Sam that she used to work with Higgs before he became a terrorist. One day, Higgs tricked her into delivering a nuke into a city, then it exploded, killing everyone. She's wanted revenge ever since. Sam falls asleep and wakes up on the beach again. He's always sleeping, but he does carry a lot. He sees Amelie speaking with him as a kid. It's clear that they have known each other on the beach for a long time. The pair arrive in Lake Knot City on the west side of the lake now. Sam is tasked with connecting a few more facilities in the region, including the engineer, craftsman, the elder, basically these little tiny facilities. Sam continues his journey west, continuing to connect waypoints along the way. I'm skipping over a large portion of the gameplay here, but there is a large section here where very little story elements take place. It's just Sam connecting cities after cities, delivering package after package. I think this is really why it gets the reputation of being a walking simulator. I do think that's reductive. It's pretty fun, and I think it does have a decent story, but this section of the game is a lot of walking, so I guess that's fair. Sam runs into several mule camps as he's doing this walking, and these are like a group of bandits who live outside of cities who try to steal packages. It's like some kind of weird addiction for them that they crave. I don't really understand it. It's kind of dumb, but basically they're bandits. Sam receives an order from Lake Knot that is destined for South Knot City. He collects the order, but before he leaves, a stranger comes out and gives him another package. They say that Fragile is the customer, and Sam takes the order and heads out. He sleeps, and in his dreams, he realizes that the stranger that gave him the package was Higgs, in disguise. Fragile comes, and the two determine the package is another nuke. Essentially, Higgs is trying to do to Sam what he did to Fragile earlier. Sam must now dispose of this explosive, and the only way you can do that is to throw it in this giant tar lake outside of South Knot. He successfully chucks the package into the, bottomless tar pit, which explodes, saving the city. Fragile and him sit and recover. Fragile recounts a similar incident in which Higgs did the same thing to her. She was forced to run in the rain with a package to get rid of it, or teleport to save herself, since she has dooms, and let the city explode. She chose to save everyone, which is why her body is so damaged and why she wears that black leather suit. Essentially, her body's aged, but her face hasn't. After connecting South Knot to the network, a massive storm builds up in the area. Sam goes outside to investigate. He's sucked up into the storm and awakes on a World War I battlefield. Sam investigates, and a strange man, the same man from the vision Sam has been having when he plugs into BB, begins going after him. The stranger is known as the combat veteran at this point, and he's after the BB. For some reason, Sam must fight off the man and these soldiers that he conjures. After the fight, Sam wakes back up in front of South Knot City. He has to then go see Mama in her lab just outside the city. Sam enters in his Ordre deck, the machine that works with the BB, to see BTs, goes crazy. The reason why is that Mama, again, stupid name, is connected to a small baby BT. She tells him the story of how she was in the hospital giving birth when the city was attacked by terrorists. Her hospital was destroyed and she was trapped in the rubble. Her baby died, but since she was still connected to it in a sense, she maintained a connection with its spirit. It's Ka, which is kind of the soul in this game. Your Ha is your body and your Ka is your soul. Leaving Mama's lab, Sam has to head to Mountain Knot City. This is one of the longest and most painful stretches of the entire game. The snow is nice, of course, to look at, but it really slows things down. I can't overstate this. Once he arrives at the city in the mountains, he tries to connect it to the network, but a woman who looks just like Mama, her name is Lockney, doesn't want to join. Sam goes back to Mama to speak with her. Mama tells Sam that she invented a way to cut the umbilical cord of BTs, which will send them to the afterlife once and for all. She then, as a way of testing it, cuts her baby's cord, setting it free. She begins to die quickly thereafter. Sam carries her body to Mountain Knot City, where Lockney is at. While walking, she tells Sam that Lockney is her sister. They were conjoined twins, but were separated, but they still share a beach and a connection. I think it's important here to talk about the fact that everybody in this series has a beach. Sam has a beach. I guess Mama has a beach that she shares with Lockney. Essentially, the beach is their afterlife, and everybody has their own. There are some cases where if a lot of people die at the same time, they can share a beach. Or if you have these weird scenarios like Mama has with Lockney here, you share a beach sometimes. Sam reunites the sisters, and Lockney agrees to fix Sam's Cupid, which has been slowly messing up. At this point, Mama dies, and the two kind of fuse. I guess their souls come back together. Deadman tells Sam that BB is starting to trend more towards the world of the living since it's been spending so much time with Sam, and it needs to be reset. The only downside is that it will reset all of BB's memories. With no choice though, Sam hands over BB. Another storm is building outside of Mountain Knot. Sam goes to meet Deadman to retrieve BB after it was repaired. He's then pulled into another storm, but this time it takes him to a World War II battlefield. Deadman is pulled in too with BB. This time, knowing that the combat veteran is going to come after BB, Sam needs to meet up with Deadman fast and retrieve BB. He does this and fights off the stranger once again. I'm reducing this a bit here, but essentially it's the same fight, but in a World War II setting. After beating the stranger this time, he's thrust back out of the storm, but before waking up from this, Sam's able to tear away the man's dog tag. The man's name is revealed to be Clifford Unger, and he's a U.S. Army Special Forces member. After waking back up in the real world, Sam must take Mama's body to Hartman so he can look at it. Mama's body doesn't seem to necrotize, so it is valuable to his research. Hartman's kind of the science person here who does a lot of the research on the Death Stranding. He makes his way to Hartman's lab deep in the mountains, which is situated right next to this heart-shaped lake. Sam learns that Hartman gets his name because he self-induces cardiac arrest every 21 minutes. While quote-unquote dead, he searches for his family. Hartman tells Sam that he was undergoing heart surgery when void outs occurred. And these are kind of the same things that happened to Mama. Everyone in the city was killed and he woke up on the beach watching as everyone walked towards the scene. He sees his wife and daughter and calls out to them, but he's resuscitated back to life, pulling him from the beach. Due to the nature of his affliction and his dooms, he can travel to other people's beaches, and he's been searching for his family ever since. Every 21 minutes he stops his heart, searches somebody's beach, and then comes back. Sam leaves Hartman's lab and connects more facilities and preppers in the mountains before returning once more. Hartman tells Sam that he has evidence that there have been several Death Strandings in the past, related to the 5 massive extinction events. He says that in each of these cases, there were individuals that acted as extinction entities, or EEs. Hartman thinks that Amelie is another one of these EEs. With the new information, Sam leaves Hartman's lab. He heads towards the west coast and the final leg of his journey. He needs to cross the massive tar belt though, and he decides to use the BTs to do it. He triggers an encounter and walks his way across the floating buildings and cars. He sees Amelie and tries to go for her, but sinks into the water. Sam wakes back up on the other side of the massive tar belt. He's met by Higgs, who says that Sam reconnecting the UCA has led him right to Amelie. Sam makes his way through this rubbled area, destroying floating BTs, before finally making his way to Edge Knot City and connecting it to the network. He leaves the facility and sees the massive BT from earlier walking towards him. It's controlled by Higgs. Amelie is connected to the giant BT. Higgs kind of has her possessed. Sam fights the BT and Higgs and eventually brings it down. Higgs takes Amelie to the beach. Sam is shot and goes to the seam. He wakes back up and is in his ready room again. Fragile comes to jump Sam to Amelie's beach so he can go save her. Sam challenges Higgs to one last fight on the beach and wins in a final fist fight. Sam reaches Amelie, but soon Sam sees a younger Bridget Strand being held hostage by Die Hardman. Clifford comes up from the beach with his men. Clifford confronts Die Hardman, who he calls John. Cliff then goes after Sam. Sam is pulled back once more. At this point, they think Cliff is the mastermind of this whole thing. Sam has to travel all the way back to Lake Knot City, and this is painful at this point. The walking gets a little tiresome here at the end. He is swept up in another giant supercell storm. This time he's carried off to the Vietnam battlefield. Sam once again defeats Clifford Unger and his soldiers, this time for good. A flashback is triggered, and it shows John helping Clifford Unger escape with his BB. Sam is joined by everyone, and Fragile prepares to send him back to the beach one last time. Sam wakes back up on the beach. He sees Bridget, and it's revealed that Amelie is Bridget. It's her Ka on the beach. The last stranding has begun. A seam has formed between the EE's beach, which is Amelie/Bridget's beach, and everyone else in America. Presumably the world, but really they just say America. The extinction entity gives Sam two choices. 1, do nothing and remain with Amelie and watch as the world burns. Or 2, shoot her and sever the link between her beach and everyone else's, thus giving humanity a little more time. Sam chooses neither of these options and runs in to hug her instead. Somehow this works for Amelie as she decides not to do anything. She says she's going to stay on her beach and shut the others out. I don't know why that wasn't an option the first time, but she does that. She can't leave. Sam is pushed through the seam by Amelie. He wakes up on his beach. The bad dreams that Sam had been suffering from for all these years were actually the EE's dreams. This is how painful it is for Amelie. She's been dealing with these dreams for forever. She has to watch as the world ends over and over and over, and she was just trying to get it over with. There's a big reveal at this point that she shot Sam when he was just a baby. She searches the beaches when Sam's young to find him and bring him back, and she does, and that's why Sam is a repatriate. Sam's still stuck on his beach in this long credit scene here. The others eventually find him using Die Hardman's gun that Sam is still holding on to. As the story wraps up, Die Hardman has become president, and the order has come down to decommission BB. Deadman secretly tells Sam that he can take his cuffs off and disappear at this point. He should also try to take Lou, which is BB's name, out of the pod. Sam runs into Fragile. She decides to pursue her delivery career as her dad would have wanted. Fragile Express is the first private company to get official UCA approval. Sam takes Lou to the incinerator, as he's supposed to do. Sam plugs into Lou one last time. He sees Cliff. Cliff was trying to rescue BB. To get it out, he takes BB out of his pod. Bridget shoots Cliff, hits the baby too, and that's why Amelie had to go find Sam as a baby. It's revealed here that the BB in the flashbacks is Sam, not Lou. Sam takes Lou out of the pod and burns the cuffs. There's something wrong though. He tries desperately to wake Lou, but it isn't working. Eventually Lou wakes up though and is holding a kipu, the same one that Amelie wore on her neck throughout the entire game. I think it's implied that Amelie helped on her end, which I'm not really sure if she closed her beach, but maybe this is one last thing she could do. Sam walks with Luis, turns out it's actually a girl, out into the rain, and it's only normal rain at this point. So I guess the world is saved? I know that this is a divisive game, but I absolutely love Death Stranding. As far as themes for this game, man, I don't know. This game is so weird. Most of the time it's just confusing. I guess it touches on the idea of family and connection. Sam's lost his family, and through the process of this game, he finds a new one. Hideo Kojima himself said the game is really about making connections, hence all the bridge symbolism and not symbolism. One thing I really found interesting, and I'm not sure if I'm reading too much into it, but Timefall seems to be the reverse of the biblical flood story. The rain is even accompanied by an upside down rainbow. If the flood was meant to wash people away, it seems like Death Stranding is death washing ashore. It's kind of the opposite. It's really interesting to see these supernatural stories so intertwined with science fiction type elements. I don't know, with all that out of the way, let's get to the rating. Overall, I think I'd give Death Stranding a 10 out of 10. Honestly, I'm biased though, so take my rating with a huge grain of salt. There are elements of Death Stranding that I didn't like too much, I'll be honest, like everything in the mountains, pretty much. But I still think it's a pretty perfect game. I've played it many, many times. As far as scary though, well, that's pretty hit or miss. The early encounters with BTs are actually quite tense. but these type of encounters get way easier pretty quickly. With that being said, I give Death Stranding a 2 on the scary meter. I think that's pretty fair. As for gore, this game doesn't really have any at all. Unless you're unnerved by babies and vomiting, there's plenty of those two things, but other than that, it's pretty mild. Like most games I've been reviewing, I have to give Death Stranding a 1 on the bloody meter. There's plenty of black, goopy liquid, but not much gore overall. Well, I've said my bit. Let me know yours in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed this retro recap, and I'll see you all in the next story. Bye.